Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. We are talking about the nodes of the moon this evening. So, if you don't know where to find us, go to Facebook and you can type in my name. I'm Claudia Del Cid, or you can look for Rick DiClemente because he's always tagged on these, and we are on twice a month. So, we're happy to have anybody. It's a free open forum, so please join us. And the calendar is always posted a few days, if not weeks before, so you know what to expect for the month. This month, we're going to be doing the nodes of the moon today, May 8th, and then the next time we meet will be May 22nd, and we'll be talking about grief. That'll be a great, great conversation that I think a lot of us will be able to relate to and contribute to because it's something we all experience at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very universal.
Yes. So, and in fact, kind of brings me to, why don't I do this afterwards, after the recording? I'll do the
Do
housekeeping.
the housekeeping then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that episode is really tied to where we are now, which is honoring our friend Rick. And we're going to be honoring him all in person up in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area, later this month. And that's what struck a chord with me. What a great topic and what a great time. So, um, welcome, Erica. Let's get started on the nodes of the moon. So, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll have.
Alex, do you know anything about your chart? Okay. Oh, well.
Let's see. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing that whole time. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Now we can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know mine are a little, oops, about
That's
the
good.
timing. I was typing.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay. So, yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about the nodes of the moon, which some of us are familiar with, and some of us need a little schooling in, and some of us could always use a refresher. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. And it's funny because I find myself saying that a lot because I like talking about all kinds of
All things astrology.
all things astrology, right? But truly, this is one of the things that pulled me in. This is one of the things that many years ago, it was 2008 or 9, I learned about the nodes and I thought, OMG, this is opening a whole world for me that I had no idea about because I was going through some pretty significant transits at the time. And this
And
just
Pluto had just gotten into Capricorn.
Yes. And it was squaring my Venus, my Saturn, my Mercury. It was a big deal. So
Yes.
here I am going through this, and I realized just how important it is for us to know really just as early as we can what this means for us in our charts, because we all have it. And at different points of development, you're going to see how it expresses itself in your life, but also the consciousness that you bring to it. So, what are the nodes of the moon? Um, they're not a they're not a place in the sky that you're going to be able to point. Oh, there's Venus, and it's not like that.
It's not a physical object.
Right.
It's a
It
mathematical
represents
point in the solar system around the Earth.
right. So it's a point of spiritual growth and destiny and the direction your soul is meant to evolve towards in this lifetime, but it's not a physical point. It's where the earth intersects with the path around the sun. So you're not gonna be able to point to it, but it's very significant. And on every chart, usually on every chart, where you see, I call it the little headphones or a horseshoe, whatever you want to call it. So the one on top is the north node, and then the south node is opposing it. So we know that you almost have to talk about them in parallel, right?
Right.
The north node and the south node, we'll talk about this in a minute, but you can't, they're really interconnected. And Jan Spiller, she is one of the ones that really opened my eyes to this whole topic. Um,
And I was excited to hear that you had been familiar with Jan Spiller's work with the nodes because I was too.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
After I'll show you the book when I don't know if can you guys see me?
Yes,
Okay,
you're in the little bar at the top.
okay. So this book, it's called Astrology for the Soul. We've probably seen it before. It's life-changing. I'm telling you, you got to read the chapter of your node or the whole thing, whatever you want. There are things that this woman can put to words that I could never, ever explain, but I felt them so deeply and I didn't know what to call it, how to say it. But she does it with every sign, with every placement. And so, and what I love about Jan is that she does it so full of um positivity and compassion. She really does. It's
Mhm.
not, hey, you got to stop doing that because that's yourself. It's not like that. Because I read some stuff, some people write, and it tends to be a little bit like, you know, kind of,
They kind of should on people.
yeah. And it's not meant to be that way.
No,
Uh, we're meant to evolve. So she does it just beautifully. So I highly recommend it. And there is another one in which she incorporates the nodes of the moon with your partner's nodes of the moon. Um, so it's called Cosmic Love. So it's basically this, but for synastry, which is also, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say your partner. This could be anybody, a friend, your daughter, your husband.
absolutely.
It doesn't have to be. And in fact, you'll find that a lot of times when we have something with some synergy with someone, anybody, could be a teacher, could be a friend, there is some correlation with the nodes of one or the other of each. For example, mine and my north node was exactly on Rick D's Mercury. Uh, we had such great communication. And it was up in the ninth house. He was my teacher. I was like, oh my God, this is so literal. it, and
Well planned too.
yeah. So, and you'll find that with like my daughter and I have my son and we a lot of connections. So, and that's not to say that it's easy sometimes, right? Because some of the most
Sure.
fulfilling relationships for us end up being ones that we really do have to stretch ourselves. So, oh, my slide's not moving. Okay. The reason I want to put this up, I want you to forget all the stuff around the circle. I want you to just start thinking about, well, like, let's start with Aries. Aries is opposed Libra, Taurus is opposed Scorpio. So we're looking at pairs here. Um, for now, ignore this, ignore this, ignore the elements and the modes, and it's really about finding the opposing sign in the wheel. So because Rick's north node is in Gemini, his south node is in Sagittarius. We actually have opposing nodes, which is complementary. But whoever
Some
you are,
would say, in the reciprocity of it, that each of us is going where the other came from.
yeah, it's really cool when you see that happening. And you, like I said, you'll have people in your life where you have this synergy with. So because our conversation tonight is really going to be about that pairings, right? So if your north node's in Taurus, then that means your south node's in Scorpio. If your north node's in Capricorn, that means your south node's in Cancer. So that's why I bring up this wheel. And as we go through the evening, I would like you to think about your north node. I'd also like you to think about your south node, because I heard this said a little while ago by an astrologer I know. She said, there are things that she looks at in the chart immediately. And they're the three we know, right? The sun, the moon, and the rising sign. And then she looks at the ruler of the south node. And I thought that was really interesting, especially if the person is on the younger side. And if they're not on the younger side, then she looks at the ruler of the north node. But regardless, she finds that a real dominant quality in the personality of the person, because you're coming from a place, and I see it in my life when I see younger people. I see it in myself. What is dominating in your psyche? It's not to say that there are not a million other factors, so always got to put that in. The chart is complex, so this is just one aspect of it. So why don't we start with, as we go through, I want you to take a minute, and because Marcia is on my screen, I'm going to talk to Marcia, and I'm going to ask her if she knows her nodes, where they are. You do.
Hi, Claudia.
Hi,
Hi.
Marcia.
Hello, Marcia.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Erica. I would assume my north node is Capricorn and my south node would be Cancer. I was born December 30th, so that's what I think.
Are you, pardon me for asking, I probably have your chart somewhere. Are you the same age as Rick D?
I'm 2 days older.
Okay, so it's very likely, I know his nodes,
Oh,
which
okay.
means they're probably the same as yours. So he was
Oh,
a
okay.
north node in Pisces and a south node in Virgo.
Oh,
So
oh,
yeah,
okay.
very different. And so it has nothing to do with your son or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we'll get to that. We'll get to that, because
They're
it's
totally independent of that.
Okay.
so key, And Erica, I don't have you on my screen, but I'm going to ask you the same question. You probably do know. And if not, we'll take a
I
minute to
do.
look that up. You do. Okay.
My north node is Sag, and my south node is Sag, but my north node is Gemini in the house of Sag. So they're
Oh,
reversed.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Rick. I mean, I don't know where his house is, but
And my south node ruler of Jupiter is in Gemini with my north node.
oh,
So there's neat reinforcement.
that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what I know about you, that makes a
Right,
lot of
right.
sense. Yeah. Seems we have a little bit of a trend here. So I have my north node in Sag and my south node in Gemini. And I tend to have friends that are the opposite, right? So it's going to be flipped. Their north nodes in Gemini, and there's south nodes in Sag. Mine is in seventh.
My husband's is the opposite of mine too.
Is it?
So my north node is on a couple degrees away from his south node and vice versa.
Yeah. So, Alex, I don't have.
Dynamic relationship.
Oh, that's for sure. I don't have you on my well, I see you in my screen. If you'd like for me to look up where your nodes are, just put, if you don't mind, your birth data in the chat, and we can look that up while we're going through the evening. Totally up to you. Okay, why don't we start? So if your north node is in Aries, then we immediately know that the opposing sign of Aries is Libra. Now, for the example that I have here, we're going to go in order, right? So we're going to go Aries first. We're going to put the North Node usually would come first. So when you think about this stuff, so we're going to put Libra on the South Node, but we're going to reverse it too. So
Right.
Aries, we know that Aries is about the self. It's about me, my identity, my everything, really. It's about me. It's the first house of the body. So it's the only house, like we talked about a few weeks ago, it's the only house that truly is just about yourself, the self.
A simple way to put it could easily be identity in the singular, my identity in the first house, shared identity in the
In
seventh.
the seventh. Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you would look at a lot of different things when you look at parents and children, but when you get in that sandwich generation and suddenly adult children are reconnecting with parents,
Mhm.
there's this resurgence. Well, it's not even a resurgence. It is nothing like when you were a child, because now there is more of a shared responsibility. And that's why it becomes more characterized by your seventh house aspects as opposed to what it would have been for your mother or father.
Right, right. So yeah, it's the one where we go from me to we,
Right.
I to us. So let's try to also get in the habit of thinking about the ruling planet of each, right? So the ruling planet of Aries would be Mars. The ruling planet of Libra is Venus. In this case, we're going Mars, Venus, and we know these are like the archetypal signatures of male, female, or feminine and masculine. It has nothing to do with what sex you are. It's just the energy that they convey and that they express. So,
And these are also rulers that are a traditional generic. It would certainly different with your own chart's timing and the signs it's on the cusp of both the first and seventh houses. So you won't necessarily look for Mars and Venus if you're a Cancer ascendant. You'd
right.
be
And we
looking
can
at
do an
Moon and
example.
Saturn.
Exactly. So we can visually take you through, oh, okay, so my North Node is in Aries. Where is my Mars?
Right.
It could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the first house or seventh house. It could be anywhere. So think about just knowing that right there, that Mars rules your North Node and Venus rules your South Node. You already get, or vice versa, you already get a flavor of the personality. My daughter has this. My daughter's, well, let's reverse it. My daughter's North Node is in Libra. Okay. This young lady is feisty as they come because her South Node is in Aries, right? So
Which
she,
is more comfortable.
yes,
We
as the,
have had more life
yes,
experiences with it,
exactly.
and we're trying to bring balance in this current incarnation.
And the older she gets, she's going through her Saturn return literally as we speak. The older she gets, the more I can see it happen naturally. It just, she's leaving behind that need to fight, that feistiness that is almost there, almost like she'll have a fight with the air. She doesn't care. and and it's really about um not necessarily leaving that behind. She is who she is. She's not going to change who she is, but using that to take into more higher expression so that it serves her instead of hold her back. Does that make sense, what I just said? You have to use it and integrate that South Node instead of saying, oh, no, I can't be like that. I don't want to be like that, or I shouldn't be like that. But take the gift of that and use it in a more North Node style. So in this case, the North Node style for her would be the Libra. But anyway, the North Node in Aries, the soul must now develop self-definition, courage, personal direction, even if it disrupts harmony. So I used to have a girlfriend who had this, and I found that she had a very difficult time being alone. Being alone was hard for her. And it was one of the things that she continued to struggle with. I mean, she was relatively young, so I could see it all start to, I don't know, unfold for her, because she went through a divorce and it's a difficult time anyway, but she didn't know who she was. Because the South Node was in Libra. The South Node was in this, like, I need to be with another. I need this identity of us and we. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that she needed to develop in the direction of the self. And when you develop in the direction of the self, ironically, the relationships usually get better. So if we reverse it,
I don't know if that's easy to quantify with with an average, because if you connected without a sense of self and then picked it up, that's not necessarily who you were presenting as yourself. So that can depend on the maturity of your partner.
True. Yes, definitely. And in this case, that was not the case. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So we're getting the flavor here of this polarity of me, us, and balancing, and eventually realizing that, it's okay whether you're going towards the Aries area or you're going towards the Libra. It's okay to let go of that
Previous processing system.
yeah, that identifying with that other, that South Node that you're so used to. The thing about the South Node is you came in with that. You were born with that. So it's all you know. So if all you know is walking on two legs, walking on four legs is going to be really awkward and not easy at first. It's going to take it's going to take years possibly for you to get used to the fact that, oh, okay, this is actually better for me. But it's a weird analogy, but it's something we usually come to not comfortably sometimes. So Libra on the South Node, they may avoid directness to keep the peace, and it's about what others want. So it's the opposite, right? Like the Aries North Node thinks me, 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 and the Libra South Node thinks, oh, everybody's got to be happy. Everybody's got to be okay in order for me to be okay. You see that, it's different sides of the same coin. And basically, this is how it works throughout the rest of the zodiac. It's different sides. This are two different sides of the same coin. And which side are you choosing? Sometimes if you're lucky, you're conscious enough to know that you are choosing. You actually are choosing. Sometimes when I get lost or when I feel confused about some area of my life, I consciously think about my North Node all the time. I do this all the time because I'm so used to thinking about it. Because I know what my tendencies are. My tendencies are in the Gemini area. So I try to, even though it's not comfortable, I try to push myself towards that Sag. But the more I practice, the easier it gets. Hey, Linda. Hmm. Speaking of Libra, see? So let's ask Linda, do you know where your nodes are? We can look them up and you're muted.
Sorry, I fell asleep. This is week, and I just woke up. I don't even know where I am. There's somewhere. I don't
All
know.
right, we can look them up.
I can look them up too, because I can,
All
I
right,
just,
you do that while we move on to the next couple of signs. Um, so let's move on to Taurus and Scorpio. This is a juicy one. It's about value, right? Value and values, because that second house, eighth house polarity is about values. Values are tied to stuff, family values, possessions, our values together, our money together, that kind of thing. But it's values. It's just mine and ours. So in the Taurus North Node, their journey is to build their own material and emotional sense of sturdiness.
Worth.
Yeah, and worth. And so they're going to be met with a lot of, I think it's just my personal opinion that wherever your North Node is, you're going to experience a lot of stuff to put you in life is going to put you in situations, in relationships, in jobs, in wherever, to give you that opportunity, because that's what you know, when you pray for wisdom, you
Oh,
don't get
not
wisdom.
an easy thing to do.
You get opportunities to gain wisdom. God doesn't just say, I'll give you strength now. He gives you opportunities for strength. So,
Everything you pray for, there's a course for that. Here, have all these experiences.
right. Yes, there's a course for that. That's great. It's a bumper sticker. So, yeah. So with Taurus North Node, we know that they are going to have situations and lessons around self-worth and what how they value themselves, or some sort of something around values and who they are, and standing in their own sovereignty, that like in that way. And then
I would also say too, there's an element where they have to find the words to define it. They have to have the voice to express it. They have to have the courage to hold it, to share it, because your previous polarity had the authenticity and the diplomacy issue. The authenticity, the Taurus is going to know more about their own authenticity, but in order to hold value in the eyes of another, that has to be expressed more adequately.
yeah,
Claudia,
yeah.
wouldn't North Node in Taurus also mean that the person has to learn how to be more independent in terms of gaining stability in life? Because maybe in the past, they, being in Scorpio, they were able to get that from other people, from inheritance or, other people's
Yeah.
money.
Yep.
And so now it's time to build up, their own,
Their own. Yeah.
their own bank, their own reserve,
Yes.
so that they can be independent, because Tauruses don't want to need anybody else. They don't want to depend on anyone else, because they know others can't always be trusted, because they might be flighty or
Yeah.
whatever, or
Yeah.
die.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about no, you're totally right. Erica. I think you're right. And so if we think about Taurus North Node, that means that you had Scorpio in the South Node. I find that sometimes there's an element of crisis and there could be trauma, crisis in the past experience where you had to deal with others and really kind of like be on survival mode. And now you're here to really build stability. Like you said, you put it perfectly. Build stability for yourself. I know somebody with this, and I find that it's just, oh, like, oh my gosh, it's so, I see it in her life big time. And
I'll say too, though, there are many places where you find the Taurus energy, especially with the sun sign, is very aware of my stuff, my things, my stability, my security. It's very earthy as an earth sign. So to me, I think the bigger struggle is the spiritual side, which is frequently what we see going on with the nodes. It's the spiritual demands. And
yeah,
I find that to be more of like, well, dude, you know, Tarian sun signs, they don't like to speak up. A Tarian North Node would be expected to speak up. That's
yes,
a powerful need. As far as how will you relate in relationships and partnerships, you have to let people know where you're at.
yeah,
You
I think
can't
you're
just
right,
expect
Rick.
them
Yeah.
to be a mind reader.
Yes,
So
yes,
that is a definite challenge because it's unfamiliar. The North Node is a place of unfamiliarity.
Is
Does
that
that
for,
make sense?
is that for all the,
For all the nodal points.
all the nodal
Right.
signs? Okay.
Right.
it's why it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. Mine in Gemini we'll be getting to in a moment, and I'll give you an
Yeah.
example
Oh
of the
yeah,
trickiness that I've experienced with that.
it's like using, when you're I, I don't know, whatever dominant hand you use, if I ask you to, from now on, I want you to write only with the other hand, it feels awkward and uncomfortable, but it strengthens you. And this is all, to me, this is the spiritual path. And I know we haven't, and Rick, you're right, because you pointed straight to what this is really about. It's the spiritual evolution of what the
Right.
soul is here to learn and to come into fruition, to come into really understanding and living it out. Uh, and if I were to ask you to go play baseball and you never played baseball, well, you're gonna probably be bad at it at first. But that doesn't mean that it's not, you can't eventually be a good player. Um it's all very, very, there's a reason it's there on your chart. And there's a reason why it is in the house that it is. And we haven't talked about, consider the titles here, right? If it's in the second house or it's in the eighth house, you could have you don't have to have this. You could have Rick's could be in the North Node in Gemini in the second house. Well, that's going to take on a flavor of this value system, self-worth business. And we'll give you more examples as we go through the evening. But let me just touch on the South Node in Taurus. So we're going to flip it. And the soul is comfortable. It could possibly be attached to material things. It could be resistant to change. It needs to embrace discomfort, honesty, and transformation. It needs to get comfortable with that eighth house deepness and substance. So that's a way to reverse it. And again, you look at the house where it's in, and that's where it's going to be highlighted for you, whatever house it's in. So you really do have to consider both. You have to consider what sign and what house. And it's really, it really is quite important that you look at the house. So why don't we move on to, we have two people here, if not three people, that have North Node in Gemini.
I know mine is,
And Erica.
and Erica's is.
Yep. So we have, we'll be able to get their experience. Yeah, you're embracing that curious side of yourself, that this is the this placement to me is like a student for life. However you're doing that, that's depending if it's in Gemini or Sagittarius, but you're learning, you're exploring, you're doing it in a more spiritual way, bigger way, or you're doing it in a more where you're taking bigger concepts and really, I don't want to say downsizing them because that's the wrong word, and really, like, Rick has a great way of explaining astrology where he makes it make sense. That's a
I'll say
great
that,
use of that. Yeah.
yeah, my North Node in Gemini seems to have been really present even as an early child, because in early childhood I was always asking the questions why, uh, especially about earth science, you know, and I was given a book, tell me why. It was all about different things about, lightning and
Right.
clouds and the color of the sky and all
Yeah.
kinds of amazing things. But with that South Node in Gemini, in Sag, it seems to have been bigger things that I was asking why about.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And there is, I think that has to do with the relationship of that South Node ruler being in Gemini, because Jupiter, which is very expansive and brings a lot of oversight, the ability to survey things that are big topics, and I would try to put it into simple language. And that's
Uh-huh.
something that I've been doing with spiritual concepts as a minister for many decades. It's one thing to see some sort of really major issue in spirituality, but then trying to put it into simple language. How do we go ahead and take those things of higher truth and speak about them in ways that it's sort of like tying your shoes?
Yeah.
Seems
Rick,
kind of in simple.
where
Yeah.
are your nodes? What houses are your north and south nodes in?
Well, depending on whether you use the true node or just the node, it can wobble between fourth and fifth, and then 10th and 11th. And it's in my Jupiter is in the 11th, and I've always looked at the true node that keeps my node into the fourth house. So there's a lot of focus on family.
What if you did like whole sign or something?
You know what? I haven't looked at whole sign, so I'd have to go ahead and get back to you on that one. I've never put my chart through that filter. I've always
So
used
you're
the
either a
Placidus.
fourth or fifth
Right.
house north node, or is it south node?
South node.
South node, either the fourth or the fifth,
Right.
and north node, either the 10th or
10th or
the
11th.
11th.
Right.
Huh.
And I do have a facility with self-expression and a very strong tie to family and personal relationships that would be associated with that fourth house.
Yeah.
And so that it kind of is befitting that it would wobble in between those two cusps, knowing who I am. I find that odd, unique positions of things kind of mean something.
Okay.
AIM is my cousin.
Oh, nice.
Hi, Aim.
Hey,
Nice to see you.
So
We've
Erica, oh, go ahead, Rick.
we've gone through a few polarities. We're partway through, and we have a few more to go yet, and then we'll start breaking things down a little further. Go ahead, Claudia. You had a question for Erica.
Yes, I wanted to actually ask her what house they're in, if she knows. I think she probably does.
Mine are in the 3rd and the 9th.
Mm.
Oh, and so your North Node is in Gemini?
South
It-
Node in the 3rd
Okay,
and North Node in the 9th. So it's in the house of Sag, and the
right.
other one is in the house of Gemini. So they have mutual reception or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I eat books.
Mm.
And when I was a kid, I read like every single book that they had in this small library. And it was like, I need more books. I just devoured, I just wanted to know more about the outside world because mine was like so small and focused. I wasn't allowed out into the world. So, and my focus was always on things that were
Bigger.
philosophical, occult. I loved every single one of the fairy tale books, every single color book of the fairy tales. And then when I was older, I went to like Rosicrucians and Theosophists
Wow.
and I'm still, I keep saying, I wouldn't mind living many, many more years because I'm so curious. I'll never possibly satisfy all my curiosity in the amount of time I have.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of
That's
the
so
most fun
fitting.
things for me.
Yeah. I
Both of the that polarity has a focus on information.
totally.
The Gemini third house focus is more everyday information and elementary information, basics.
But mine is in the 9th house. So that
Yes,
changes
No.
it a little bit.
right. So you are blending that focus into larger concepts.
Yeah, I want to see how it can be, it can become practical for usage
Right,
rather than just an idea, like how do we make use of it?
Theoretical. Yeah, right.
right. Yeah.
I can relate to both of you because I have the opposing one, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But I also feel like life's so short because I can't read all these books and learn all this stuff I want to learn. And
Yeah.
It's
it's
like
the other.
Confucius. I was thinking of Confucius when Erica was speaking. He went through 2 complete bindings of the I Ching during his lifetime, and he would have liked to live a lot longer to study the I Ching more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely this polarity.
I know that I have another weird personal placement. I have my ninth house cusp as Aries, which is the place where you expand and you pioneer, you go into something new. And the ruler is in the third house. Mars is in the third house.
Oh, so
So there's
there you
this,
have it again.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a focus on and I could also see this is a teaching. This is a teaching and learning, which are also I got myself into a certification course so I could to teach meditation so I could learn it because I want to learn it for myself. So because I was like if I have to teach it I have to really learn it. So it is a big teaching and learning. It just again think about Gemini rules Mercury, Sagittarius rules Jupiter, and just if you know those 2 planets it gives you more information like okay so because I'm a North Node in Gemini, that mercurial aspect is going to be more influential, or depending on where you are in your life. And I think a lot of this has to do with the consciousness of where you are in your life and maturation, and really questioning your own self. Like when you question your own self, that's when you allow for growth. So this is a fun one. So why don't we move on to, thank you both. We're lucky to have two Gemini Sag. Well, and then we got the other one with me. So let's go to Cancer and Capricorn. So North Node in Cancer. So I find that these people have a little bit of a tougher time being vulnerable and showing vulnerability and showing that emotional side, but it's in there. That's the thing. It's almost like Saturn. When I look at Saturn, a placement, it's almost like that's where you have a hard time, but the gift is also in there, in that very same placement. Hopefully that makes sense. So the South Node in Capricorn, it's like, oh no, they kind of suppress that mushy side of themselves, and it's all about, well, outer success. And as they get older, they probably, and I don't like to put this as far as timing of an age, because we all develop at different times. Like I see my daughter who's 28, and I see how her North Node is already coming alive. But I also see people in their 70s, and they're like not at all picking up on it. So it doesn't matter. It's not necessarily an age thing. It's a consciousness thing, and it's development on a soul level.
I think that has everything to do with it. It's going to be always easier if you handle your soul's progression consciously. So it's important that your major transits, like your even your first Uranian square at 21, before you even hit your Saturn return around 29, and if you're avoiding growth and learning, things you need to learn are going to continue to pile up
Show up.
while you're getting older.
Yeah.
So to ignore all these mile markers and hit your 50s where you're supposed to get the Chiron return, if you didn't hit Uranus and Saturn with consciousness, that's not going to make 51 easy.
Well, now you tell me. I had my Chiron return. It's exactly right now. It's exactly the degree right now. But no, I hear what you're saying. Those transits are really, they're such milestones. And if you don't, this is another reason, number 247, why I love astrology, is when you know this is happening. So like, for example, like my daughter is 28, right? She knows this is her Saturn return. So I'm talking to her about her Saturn return. And even if it doesn't all sink in, she has an awareness of what this is asking of her and what this lesson would possibly be about. Because she's going to hopefully have a second Saturn return, and she's going to have a Uranian opposition, and all these milestone where the soul is expanding. And maybe we can make it a little less painful on ourselves. But
I like the comment that Alex said about cancer and having to learn to be vulnerable. Alex said, I can see that as a shell cracking journey.
That's
yeah,
perfectly
right.
put. My son, my child, has this, and I see it all the time. And I'm beginning to see that little teeny bitty, I mean, he's 23, but the little cracks there, he's beginning to show that nurturing side of himself. And it's just lovely. It's lovely to see that because in his development, he has only identified, or he has often identified with outer success in life. That is what matters. But in his journey, like I remember years ago, he was young. I remember getting him a plant because I was thinking North Node. He let the thing die. It's fine. It's not it. I was just trying to kind of roundabout. Then he got a dog. He didn't want to take care of the dog, but it's all happening in his it perfectly timed for his development. You know, who am I to? I mean, yes, I'm his mom, but because I know this, I see it. I see, like, when I step back, I go, he's gonna do it all by himself. Like, just kind of what God does with us. You're gonna do it when you're gonna do it. And but that openness to even consider that emotions exist and they're okay to have, and they're okay to express, and they're okay to process. That's a big deal because this can be a heavy one. Because if you're not, all those emotional, if you have a lot of water in your chart, this is nothing. This is another average Tuesday. But if you don't relate to that emotionality in yourself, that can be like a lot. And it can drown you. It depends on the person. So
Yeah, that emotional vulnerability. It's the vulnerability
yeah, big
because
time.
the Capricorn is full of the independence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not easy for a Cancer to step into a Cancer energy to step into. I might not know what's going on here. Maybe I need to learn something.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a vulnerability they're not generally easy with.
definitely. So what if we reverse it? If we reverse it, then there's an overdependence on this emotional side of themselves, whether it's with a family or they're too lost, maybe they get lost in their emotions. um so there's a more of a likelihood that you're going to show the shadow side of that sign when it's in the south node. Not always, but it's possible. So Cancer can be, because they are so emotional and wrapped up in their safety, right? They can manipulate. Maybe it's not conscious. In fact, it likely isn't, but it still happens. So the the awareness that you can exhibit the shadow side of these signs because it is your south node. It's good to know. And I feel that all the time with mine. And I continue to, just work through it. That's all I can do. It's just to be aware, oh, I'm doing that thing again. I'm
Claudia, I wonder if that would be like the Mean Girls movie, because they had their own pack, their
uh-huh,
own little group, and they
right,
left everybody else, was rejected and made fun of, and that's how they were
right.
controlling it.
Yes.
Do you think
They
that
were
would be a
controlling,
Cancerian? Or
right.
would that be
I mean, maybe that would,
Gemini? What would that be, I wonder?
I feel like I have no idea because I've never seen the movie, but
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh my
maybe,
God, you've got to see it.
yeah.
I think there's a remake even. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about it. Cancer, Capricorn, or maybe Taurus, Scorpio. It's about like self-worth manipulation, depending on, I don't know, I have to see the movie, but
Well, it was the cool kids in school, and
yeah,
it's like high school, the in
high school
crowd,
stuff.
And then, you have the cool kids, and then the new kid comes in and they get, kicked around and dissed, and they
Yeah, yeah,
want so
yeah.
much to be part of this group. It's a classic story, right?
Right, right.
I can't help but wonder, though, if it's less the mean girls clique mentality isolating to a sign as to a level of immaturity and selfishness and toxicity.
Well, they are
The
teenagers.
negative shadow experiences of whatever they're facing. Because some will be adjusting ahead of the crowd, some will be lagging behind. You know?
Yeah.
And many kids that are really the cool kids in high school turn out to be so full of themselves that they fall flat on their face, but the quiet kids are the ones that gain the success and,
Yes.
and the good
Yes.
life later on, and the other ones just stayed where they were.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, with the Cancer South node, the lesson here is that you can be your own, basically your own nurturer, your own anchor, and you don't have to rely on an over reliance on others. We're human beings, so we should be balancing interdependence as opposed to hyper independence and then codependence. So the lesson here is, not too much of one and the other, right? So let's go to, yeah, I mean, this is such a perfect example. They are all perfect examples of, I always, looking at the ruler of each sign. So if the ruler of Cancer is the moon and the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, anybody that I know with this placement, they do not cry at a movie, and they're not gonna, and if they did, they're not gonna show it to you. Because it's just as they develop and as they accept themselves, all sides of themselves, that it's okay, that you're human and you can cry or show emotion, vulnerability, that it's okay. So why don't we go to Leo Aquarius? I'd love to take a minute and see where I'm going to actually, my daughter's calling me. I'm going to pause the recording. And because I don't, what if it's an emergency?
Sure.
Hello? Yes, right now, honey. Are you okay? Oh, okay, bye-bye. She goes, oh, it's not an emergency. Okay, bye. All right. So I do want to take a minute because I want to plug in Alex's and
Chart.
maybe, yeah. If somebody um
I'll see if I can't locate Ames.
okay. I have to go back to my other screen. Would somebody like to read it to me? Alex, would you like to say it to me?
Sure, I'll go and find the details again for you.
Thank you.
Oh, I think he put April the 11th. So he's Aries, 1987.
And
In
was there
Denver, Colorado. Let's see, 2100. What is that, like 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock?
1800 is 6. So
Oh,
9?
2100. 2400 is midnight. So 23, 22,
So
21.
9.
Yeah, I guess.
9. Yeah.
Is it 9, Alex?
Yeah, 9 p.m.
Okay. April 11th, 1987, 9 p.m., Denver, Colorado. Got it. All right. So we're going to put it here and we're going to open it. And okay. So your north node is in Aries. Let me share my screen just for a moment. Then we'll start the recording again. So with that knowledge, Alex, I would encourage you to go back and look at the video because your north node is in Aries, your south node is in Libra, right? And actually, what we're about to talk about, the next one, which is the Leo Aquarius axis, is going to affect this, is going to affect you because yours are in the 5th and 11th house.
All right.
Yeah. So let me take you to, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was doing and where I was for a minute. Okay. Pause. Resume.
There's a lot of energy in the air right now. Very disconcerting.
You mean astrologically or in the room or what?
Yeah, astrologically, I mean, the world is just like boom,
Oh, yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Every other minute there's something new going on. It's like, oh, exhausting.
I didn't stop the
We
recording.
just got a new pope too, and he's
That-
American from
That
Chicago.
was the most beautiful moment today, though. It's like the world stopped for 10 minutes, and that beautiful man just stood there with such grace and and humility and humbleness, and that's what I felt watching him. And
I didn't see it. I only heard
oh,
about it,
it
but
was
I was
beautiful.
shocked. An American pope. This is going to be interesting.
He spent most of his time in Peru.
Oh,
Yeah, he lived many decades in Peru.
huh.
But
So he doesn't live in Chicago.
no, he doesn't live in Chicago, and now he lives in Rome.
He was an archbishop in Peru.
Yeah, for many decades he lived in Peru.
Cool.
Wow.
Maybe he's a shaman also, huh?
But I thought he was a beautiful man, just the energy coming from him. I was very surprised.
I'll have to check out and see if YouTube has it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I missed it. I just heard about it from John this morning. We have a pope. They didn't take very long, did they? They just went into conclave and it was boom, they were
Yeah,
done.
2 days. Yeah, yeah.
So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Leo Aquarius, or the 5th and 11th house. So like I told Alex, so if you have your north node in the 5th house, it's going to take the flavor of Leo. His is in Aries, but it's going to have an element of 5th house qualities to it. So don't forget that. So north
Certainly,
node,
it's still fiery.
yeah, talk about fiery, big
Mhm.
fiery. Yeah. So I think this one is about expression and shining with purpose and how to contribute without losing yourself. Leo is comfortable usually, not all the time, there's exceptions, being in the center of the spotlight, but that's not necessarily what this is about. It's really more about leading with the heart instead of the mind, because Aquarius is very mental, very, very airy. Air signs are usually they're mercurial, so ruled by mind dominant. And Leo is a fire sign. So it's more about the spirited. I had somebody, he was a Leo actually. He said to me one time, he goes, wherever you are, be in the spirit of it. If you go to a funeral, be in the spirit of that. If you go to your cousin's house, be in the spirit of that. If you go to the library, be in that spirit, wherever it is that you are, and bring your whole heart into it, your whole self into it. And this is pretty much, oh, I have to let John in. This is what this is about. So being with the South Node in Aquarius, so you're used to kind of being part of a group, being more in the mind, being more analytical. And this is more about just experiencing and expressing yourself and going out on a limb and not being afraid to show that big heart of yours. At this point, maybe it's not as comfortable, but it's there. Remember, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's there, and it's the chance for developing it in yourself is high. So let's flip it.
Well,
Leo,
before you flip it,
yeah.
that Aquarian is so used to being the support for the large group. It has basically just been the team player. So this idea of suddenly you're being called upon to express, that's where it is about shining. Shining, just like the sun, is so much brighter than all of the stars, yet it is still a star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Aquarius kind of likes to hide a little bit in the group.
Right.
As opposed to shining, they like to blend in sort of to the background. They don't like a lot of attention on them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Aquarius also tends, they can have a quality of detachment about them. Leo is very much not. They're in other words, they're that's why I wrote personal and impersonal. And I don't mean to make those sound so impersonal, that's such a negative, but there's an element of real heart opening with Leo. Where with Aquarius, they have a different gift. In this lifetime, this time around, you already used up that gift a bunch. So use the Leo, you're going towards the Leo side. Which is that warmth, that warmth of a Leo. So if you flip it, think about the shadow side of what Leo can be, which is, that egoic. I have a person that comes to mind that happens to be in the White House, that egoic, like, and he's a Gemini, but he's a Leo ascendant. And I don't know what else he has on the ascendant, but he's 29 degrees Leo ascendant. Very much, I'm the king and it's about me. That's the shadow. Talk about dramatic. So if you flip that, Aquarius is on the north, Aquarius north node. So they're developing that sense of, this is a perfect way of putting it. And our beautiful friend Liza uses this, I've gotten it from her, is enlightened self-interest. So Aquarius North Node would be using that, still about me, because they do have Leo on the South Node, but it's about what's good for all with an Aquarius North Node. And usually they go hand in hand. So enlightened self-interest would be, it is going to help me, but it's actually also going to help the collective.
Everyone else.
Yeah, it's conscious. So from emotional intensity to wise observation. Yeah, really smart, smart folks, whichever way. I mean, Aquarians are so like they think in just a big way. Um, yeah, whether we're moving from Aquarius to Leo or vice versa, the soul is learning to balance individuality and community, heart and mind, spotlight and service. And whether you do it in whatever house it expresses itself in, it's still going to be about that. How can I be of service, or where have I overused this? That type of thing. Um, Shining on purpose, which would be a good way to look at it. I wonder, did you get, I don't remember.
Oh, Abe's chart.
Ames chart. Yeah, I just don't want to miss.
Ames chart has the North Node in Scorpio in the second,
Okay.
with South Node in Taurus in the eighth.
Okay. So we did that one at the
Right.
beginning, Aim. But I would definitely encourage you to look at it. And because he seems like he has a mutual reception there.
Well, yes, the way
Yeah.
that Erica experiences it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to our last pair.
Interestingly enough, that Scorpio ruler of Pluto of Mars is over in the 11th house, kind of square the nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a large drive towards expressing the self's values, both personal and shared, in the larger group.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you
that would be
say
group activity. No,
Pluto square?
I said Mars.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because you had mentioned the South Node planetary ruler
Yeah,
tends to be something that is very enlightening. And
definitely. Look at what,
yeah,
yeah.
Mars is at 15 degrees, the lunar nodes are at 12.
I just had an epiphany myself.
Wow, do express it.
So did we get to, we already did mine, but it's in reverse. So I have my North Node in Sagittarius, my South Node in Gemini. So if I look at the ruler of my South Node, it's Mercury.
Right.
My Mercury is in Cancer at 29 degrees. And I've often found that my thinking is I get lost, I get lost in a sea of my own thinking. And I also have a T squared to it. And it's something that I have to be so conscious of, because if I believe something, Cancer is it's ruled by the moon. Cancer is very subjective. It's not going to be like facts neutral. Just how important it is to look at the ruler and what it's doing and what aspects it's making, because it's going to influence a lot about what's going on with you. And I find it, I mean, I guess because it's been going on for a few months, where I go, it's like my mind is being overtaken. But it's a healthy exercise to look at what is the ruler of the South Node and the North Node. What are they doing? Hey, Debbie. Good to have you. So why don't we take a look at, and hey, John, I have not said hello to you. Welcome, my friend. So Virgo Pisces. So
That's
the
Linda
or.
too.
And to Linda, I think I said hi to Linda, but if I didn't,
No, but I mean, Linda is Virgo Pisces nodes.
oh,
Well,
she is.
mine Pisces is the north node.
And so you and Marcia are, this is for you, Marcia, as well. Yep. Marcia said her north node was in well, she didn't say. I just know if you're 2 days apart from Rig D,
Big
then your
D.
north node is in Pisces and your south node is in Virgo. So let's start with the first being the Virgo north node. So these folks need to ground themselves in taking their vision into reality, into the physical reality that we're here to experience. So a South Node Pisces person is going to probably be a very naturally a spiritual person. That's where they came from, a very compassionate, possibly something that it almost like, remember, they don't need to use that anymore. They've already used a lot of that. So they integrate it into this, they don't let it go. They use it for the benefit of the Virgo expression. So Virgo is about, hey, what are we doing today? Where are we going? What time are we doing that? If I want to, be a nurse, what is that going to take? If I want to be a teacher, what do I have to do? Being organized in your thinking and being grounded in, tangible, your daily tangible actions. That's the Virgo North Node. And the soul is used to drifting into dream states. Pisces is a visionary. You can say that they're a daydreamer, or you can say that they're a little flighty, whatever it is that you want to say. But that is not necessarily a bad thing. That's just how you came in. This is the polarity of health. It's mental health and physical health. It's and this encompasses a lot. The daily, everyday, oh, I got to go pick up the dry cleaning, and then the night, dreaming and the night time, and that solitude, the monk mode type of experience, which is the other side of it. 6th house, 12th house, 6th house, 12th house. So wherever your north node is, if it happens to be in the 6th house, or then you color that in. So also these two polarities happen to be about service in, how, wherever that house, wherever it is in the house that it falls in. But this is a big, Pisces and Virgo are people that truly are very benevolent in how they serve. They really are. They're not looking to get kudos. They're not looking to get recognized for just how great they are. They're doing it really out of the kindness of their heart and because it's the right thing to do. So if we flip it, we're the North Node in Pisces, very spiritual as well. And it's that the roadmap is taking you towards it, not leaving it in the rearview mirror. So the South Node in Virgo could be something where you expect a lot of yourself. You expect a lot from others, because when you expect a lot of yourself, you can, not necessarily maybe for you guys, but it's that shadow side that can express itself with Virgo. The soul is wired to improve on something, whatever it is, and go to the opposite side. The soul is accepting and letting go. That's, when I first met Rick, because he has a North Node in Pisces, after my first reading, I said, I bet his North Node's in Pisces because he exudes love. He just exudes love, and he exudes wanting to serve, like really being of service to the person that's sitting in front of them. He's not going to do you any favors by not telling you the truth, by not being loving, by not getting you back in touch with yourself. He really takes it seriously. So, um, as I saw him in the last few years, I saw this such surrender with him, just like let go and let God. And that is really North Node Pisces stuff. This high level of compassion and faith, belief and faith. So let me ask Linda and Marcia if they experience their nodes in this way, or how they do experience it.
Well, I experience it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's with me. And I think coming to mind immediately is my relationship with felines.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
I just I take care of 8 of them.
Wow.
Oh yeah, 4 live inside, 4 live outside. And I've had many over my lifetime. And it's just such a natural for me.
Yeah.
And, um, just a
To
real
care
soul
for
connection.
others.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I was I was in body work for 30 years and studying homeopathy and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rick, I just have a quote here that he said, and I have it on my bulletin board up here, and it says, "You are God looking through your eyes." So, yeah.
Beautiful.
It's so Rick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm gonna write that down myself. What about you, Linda?
Oh, I don't think I have as happy a story as that.
That's all right.
Although I have to say I share the feline thing. I mean,
You do.
I've
Yeah.
had cats since I asked for cats when I was like a little girl. I said I want one of those. I thought they had motors inside them, but they don't. They're just they purr, but that's not a motor. Um, I that whole for me it's like a push me pull you thing, as I think I've experienced a lot of the South Node over control, that whole whatever was on your slide there. That was that's a the hypercriticism, that perfectionism, and I still suffer a lot from that. And it's not that I don't experience the spirituality, but I'm not like a student of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I can't say that I sit down and read the Bhagavad Gita or anything like that. I,
Right.
it's just not how it happens for me. But I have what I would call experiences.
Yeah.
I have experiences. And speaking of cats, years ago, I had a cat that used to sleep with me every single night. I mean, every single night, the cat slept with me until she was 22. She was too old to get in the bed. And
Wow.
and one night, I don't know, I was married then, and I don't know where my husband was, but it was just me and the cat. And I'm laying in the bed and I'm asleep, and I'm aware that I'm having a dream, but it's not a dream. And the cat is talking to me and speaking English. And what the cat said to me is, I'm an angel and I was sent to teach you things. And I can't leave until you're done.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was 22. I mean, it was very loving. It was very sweet. And I believe it was a real experience. I mean, it wasn't a dream. I wasn't, in a dream state, but I wasn't awake either. I was in some nether world where this cat could speak to me in a language that I understood. And so I had an out of body experience when I had surgery. My grandmother, who lived in Chicago, and my mother and I used to have the same dream at night. So those are the sorts of experiences I have. You know, not a highly developed case of it, but I'm fairly clairaudient, and it's almost impossible to lie to me because I know immediately when someone's lying. So,
Yeah.
so there's sort of a tuned inness to this larger world, but I can't say I've ever studied it. And I often feel like I should, but I don't even know how, from where I'm sitting. I work in a pretty spiritual environment. My former boss is a nun, and she's not a nun in the, hit your head with a ruler kind of way. She's deeply spiritual, and so, as is the priest at our school. And so and then there's Rick, of course, and I've been around spiritual people, you know, and most of them not religious, most of my life, but they're all more scholarly than I am, and they study more, and so I don't really know what to say. I'm interested in all of it, but I'm interested when I converted to Catholicism and I was an adult, mostly because it was convenient for me, because I like to go to mass and I could get communion and participate, even though I don't believe in like 90% of what, and when Father Peter inducted me into the church, I said, well, I don't believe in a lot of this. And I'm really interested in Native American philosophy, and I study astrology. So, are you still sure you want to go forward with this? And he said, oh, yeah, absolutely. He said, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's, I don't know. So that whole, I experience it more as like I'm on a slide going back and forth, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could have to do with with the aspects, or that's just how you are going to express it. Also, I'm not sure of your age, Linda, but you got a long way to go. And what happens, I find that it's just honestly, I find that the older we get, it just naturally just starts. You don't even think about it. It just starts to be more of something. It becomes a bigger priority in your life. You don't do it consciously. You don't say, well, I'm going to work on my north node now. It just happens. And it's because your soul is ready at that point. So you are where you are, and yours is in the fourth house. So maybe it has something to do with your emotional life, your family, perhaps your home. Um,
Oh,
and
I'm not very good. The emotional thing is like not my thing.
well, there you go. There you go.
That's a whole fraught thing from my family is, you know, the emotional side. Yeah. But we keep working on it, right? We keep working
Yeah,
on it.
exactly. And as an air sign, that could kind of make sense. Like, think about what the soul wants to do. If the soul wants to get you more in touch or be okay with emotional stuff or be, I don't know, something family related, then an air sign is probably going to go, yeah, not for me. But we all do it. At some point in our lives, we all do it. We tend to resist that placement, that north node area.
Well, one of the things that, Rick worked on with me for a long time was the fact that in my earlier years, I expressed more of the Libra side of myself, and he got
Mm-hmm.
me really working on the Scorpio in for the moon in Scorpio in the first house,
Uh-huh.
and the Scorpio ascendant, he said, and then with Virgo, um, Virgo, what was it? Venus and Virgo at the top of the chart. And I think I can't remember if it's the ninth or the 10th house, but it's up there. He said,
It's right on the midheaven.
yeah, well, he said, your moon wants to express itself and your Venus says, shut up.
Uh-huh.
Your
Yeah.
moon wants to express yourself. I mean, so that's, those contradictions are, and that's a very Libra thing too, in a way, is to have that, that nothing is ever sort of settled. It's,
Yes.
up and
Right.
down.
And you could see both sides of like, oh yeah, I like this, but I also like this, or I want to be like this, but I also want to be like this. It's one of the Libra, I don't know how to
Annoying
say
aspect.
it.
One of the annoying aspects. Like asking me, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go? And my Scorpio good college friend finally just yelled at me. She yelled at me in the phone. She said, I'm tired of you making me pick. She said, we're
Yeah,
not going to go to lunch unless you pick. So I said, okay, there you go. So
that's so funny. Listen, if you want, I talk about this with both my kids and their boyfriend and husband and their partners. That is such a topic of, but that could be for anybody, any relationship. You just that what are we gonna eat? That's such a becomes such a thing. What are we gonna eat or where are we gonna eat? It's so funny. Oh my gosh. So um this I know that I see some chatting going on and I haven't read all these messages, but um do we want to look at Debbie's nodes?
Sure.
I don't have Debbie's chart, North Node in Libra in the 8th house. So the South Node is in Aries in the 2nd. So you're probably used to at some point in your life, being pretty independent. Maybe independent from your family at an early age or financially, I'm not sure, or even just being a rather like self-starter sort of person. And Libra in the 8th house this is such relationship stuff. I don't mean necessarily even intimate relationship, like a personal or spouse, but it can be. But Libra is, the sign of relating to another. And in the 8th house, it's very much, deep emotional connection that doesn't it could be with your clients, your friends, your partners, but this placement is going to want harmony, and you're leaving behind this Mars like quality, where Mars is like a warrior. I'm not sure if any of that makes sense to you, but
Just for a heads up, her Mars happens to be, as the ruler of her South Node, it is in the 3rd house, 5 degrees away from the IC, as part of a grand cross.
oh,
It has opposition to Jupiter and Chiron in Aquarius with Uranus in Leo. Those are the planets of her fixed cross.
yeah, it's it's fixed. Even
Right.
even more even more interesting. Well, it actually doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a cross, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with your astrology, Debbie, or astrology in general. So I don't want to assume.
Oh, Rick knows my astrology probably better than I do. I know I'm a
Okay,
Capricorn with Aquarius rising. After that, it gets pretty nebulous. But I'm just curious. But I don't know. I've been a loner pretty much my entire life. My father died in age 10. I was kind of thrust into co-parenting my 3 younger siblings. So other than being married for 7 years, um, yeah, pretty much lived by myself. And so I guess what you were saying about
pretty
independence.
independent. Yeah,
Very.
And that South Node ruler being in the 3rd house makes sense that she would be very information savvy.
yes, Yes.
And that north node in the eighth house definitely connects to the idea of metaphysics.
Totally. That's what
There's
I was gonna say that and I forgot to say it. Yeah.
there's a large depth
Big
of
time.
curiosity
Mm-hmm.
trying to bring, and with it being in Libra, trying to bring a balance to your understanding of existence through a metaphysical lens.
I
Also,
know you can feel that.
Palace,
Isn't the third house also siblings? And she raised her
And
siblings?
she
yes,
helped
that's
raise her
right.
siblings.
Yeah, and neighbors and such. So there's an easy connection to be made or an interest there for sure. She also has Pallas Athena conjoin that north node. So the goddess of wisdom and uh, also war is
Mm-hmm.
an interesting one to have in the eighth house conjoin the north node in the sign of diplomacy.
Oh, because Pallas Athena, and I don't know much about her, she doesn't tend to be diplomatic, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
She does?
She does her best to be diplomatic.
Okay. Then I misunderstood. Okay.
She is a goddess of war, but also wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Mars being a god of war, he doesn't have that restraint.
Right.
She, as the divine feminine expression, would rein it in and seek to pull
Yeah.
things together differently. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Debbie, I'm glad you're here. I hope to
Thanks.
have you. I hope we have to get
Unfortunately, it conflicts with an existing event of mine, so I'm always curious to find out more, but none of this sticks with me, unlike other things, like,
yes.
writing
Well,
custom GPTs and creating books and all kinds of stuff. Rick knows.
I'm really glad to have you. I've heard about
That's what Chat GPT just said about Pallas Athenius. Is that right, Chat?
Yeah,
20
that's the one.
degrees Cancer,
Your
6th.
palace. Oh, 28th degree. That sounds more like mine.
Pallas, it says Pallas Athena 20 degrees Cancer, I think.
Let me double check. Not for your birth date.
I mean, I pasted my chart into ChatGPT and I asked it,
Yeah,
but I don't
that's
trust.
where the chat gets a little wonky.
That's
Yours
what it
is at
said.
19 degrees 29 minutes of Libra. Juno is at 20 degrees 29 minutes of Libra.
See, you don't trust. Don't
no.
trust the AI to tell you to read your chart because that's what it's giving me.
Right.
Yeah. I
There have
recently
even been times I've seen glitches in astrology programs, and I had to refresh and make sure things were looking a little different because I knew something was missing, something was wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often, but it is known to happen.
Well,
Yes.
that would be what we call in tech world a hallucination. It hallucinated. It sounds accurate though. I don't know. I'm just like, it does sound accurate. I don't know.
Oh, when you put it down to the minutes, it sounds like it's confident even. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did this recently with somebody where they were telling me that they did this thing on, ChatGPT and it told them about their chart. And it was not at all right. And I'm
Sure.
not just saying from an interpretation standpoint, it was just not right. So
Calculations are off.
yeah.
That's the
But
issue.
so you guys have a job still.
Absolutely.
I hope so because
You
that
can't trust.
interpretation is
You can
probably
always
the key.
trust GPT and AI in general. It hallucinates. It makes things up. But it sounds very authoritative. But yeah,
AI will
cross-reference
never
it.
replace the human component.
That's
I've heard
There you
right.
Claudia
go.
say that.
I know.
Not at
And
I
all.
believe that. I think that
AI doesn't have It doesn't have the ghost in the machine. It doesn't have the human component that we
Well,
all
for
have.
those
Right.
techies out there, the the Terminator series was supposed to take place in the 90s, and here we are 30 years later, we're nowhere close to that being the case. So I'm not that worried. Not in
Well,
my lifetime.
astrology is also an art. So until AI is able to create art, it's going to have a problem.
Generate on
Yeah.
its own independently. It does take instructions and it moves lines and changes colors, but only based on the input by the operator who's seeking the information. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that makes Debbie's experience of AI a cut above many others, because her skill set is so strong in information analysis and understanding humanity. It makes her an incredible listener to know how to frame a question
Mm-hmm.
for AI. And that's where AI will actually work better. It is not going to, we're still going to have to train the humans to know how to ask the right questions.
Thank goodness. We need people with a soul, not machines all the time.
Debbie, are you trying to talk to us, or are you on?
Yeah, can't you hear me with my microphone off? I'm tired. No, I was saying that. No, you said that train people to basically make prompts, and my experience is even working with people to create custom GPTs. It's an art. It's an art form in itself
Oh yeah.
to listen to what people are asking and then to put it in words in a way that you feel like you're going to get the answer that you want. So
Mm-hmm.
it says multiple layers there. That's where humans are going to outshine any kind of robotics, because you got to remember that even though it has a wealth of information, it's actually very stupid. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to us as human beings. But this talk about like, oh, it's going to be like millions of degrees of genius or something like no.
Yeah.
Can it regurgitate facts if it has facts? Yeah, but
It
it does
doesn't even do
hallucinate.
that well. I asked it last week. I was in the middle of the Steeler draft and I was gone for a couple hours and I wondered who they picked in the third or fourth round, whatever it was, and I asked it and they told me they told me two names. It was like AI thought that Steelers could get two picks out of one pick, and it was two people I'd never heard of and had nothing to do with you know what had actually happened because the pick hadn't happened yet, so it made something up. And I'm just gonna it'll try to please. It's like a little kid who lies. It'll try to please you. And I mean, I asked it a question it couldn't have answered. It was sort of an unfair question because it hadn't yet happened that they had made the pick. But I mean, it could have said that the Steelers haven't picked in the third round or whatever, but no, it made something up. So I thought that was hilarious. It was one of my favorite things. So I just tell my students, hey, they can't
It
even
can't.
get that.
It can't even tell you that's a bullshit question.
Yeah,
Right?
see that?
Why is it a bullshit question? Well, let me tell you.
Well, I've enjoyed this evening.
Thank you.
I am glad you're here, Debbie, and I'm really glad we did this nodal evening. I do want to pause for our YouTube watchers. We are here next time on May 22nd, and we put out a calendar on Facebook, on my Facebook or Astrology Unplugged group. Please find us there. You can get the link to join us on those Thursdays. Next
It's
time we meet,
actually worded as Astrology Unplugged Community.
thank you. Yes,
It is a
uh,
group, but named
it's a
community.
community. So yes, tell your friends, tell anybody you know that's interested in these topics. So, because next time we're actually not going to be talking astrological, astrology. We're going to be talking about grief and the soul's alchemy through it. So
I was
if you,
actually thinking of bringing in astrological components like strengths and deficits of
oh,
the
you do?
signs. Yeah,
Sorry.
that was just
I
seeming
think
like
that's
it'll
going to be,
help.
we could probably meet for uh, 4 hours
We
on
can
this topic.
continue on Sunday.
I know, I know.
Aren't there any
So
fixed stars or asteroids for grief?
There
there's
is an
probably some.
asteroid for Grieve.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and you certainly will feel certain things regarding Saturn because Saturn will deal with serious issues. Pluto is going to help you work on your understanding of transformation. Those are things to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and do some assessing of the strengths and deficits of grief,
Yeah,
or how about bereavement support? That'll be my focus, bereavement support. And I'll also look at the planets so that we have that component. And I will uh, be happy to go ahead and share that on the Astrology Unplugged community.
thank you, Rick.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, well, thank you for your YouTube watchers. Everybody else, you could stay on. We're gonna do a little housekeeping, but I'm gonna say goodnight for
Housekeeping.
now. Yes.
I'm
Just to
tired
make
of
sure,
housekeeping.
just so everybody knows what's going on in the, for
Thanks,
future.
everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
We're